Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a nice start to your day here on Christmas Eve. And we sure appreciate you guys coming on, and thank you for doing that. And let's see if I see on this device, or do I have to use another one? Let me see here. Let's see. No, I see it. Kevin, number one. You made it, Kevin, to the top. Janice, Sylvia. Hi, Sylvia. Brahim, you're right up at the top. Rosalinda, Niagara Falls. Hi, Paula Joe. How are you? Kathy, Port Perry. I love when I can see it right in front of me, guys. Maria from Ottawa, good morning to you. Andrea, Niagara Falls, thank you for coming on this morning. Karen from Coldwater, we love you guys. Marla, how are you? Sandy from Fergus Falls, Minnesota. Georgie from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Marl from Ottawa. Nativity, good morning. Sandy, Chilliwack, British Columbia. Denise in Oakville. Paul, how are you? From Edmonton, Alberta. And Diane from LaSalle. Gail, Mount Pearl, Newfoundland. Nellie, how are you, Nellie? Good morning to you, Natalie. And Janice. Saying hello and saying hello to Kevin. See, Kev, people love you. Dennis, how are you? Fran, there you are from Orangeville. Good morning. Melika, how are you? Bonnie, Merry Christmas to you. And Brahim is saying in Portland, Oregon, high wind. Well, there's not high wind here, but it's cold. Diane, Lisa, how are you? Carol, Frida. And Sherry is saying hello. And Yvonne, Petawawa, how are you? Lucille. And Deb from Motown, right, Deb? Rose, good morning. Sharon, is that from Kansas, Sharon? John from Elgin, Illinois. We appreciate you guys coming on. Volita. How are you? Judy, New Brunswick. Arlene, good morning. Yolande, I've been waiting for you. Oh, there you go. Thanks for coming on. Janine. And Natalie is saying Merry Christmas. Diane, Mary. How are you, Mary, from Anaheim, California? And Donna, Newfoundland. You get bonjour en français. Mary, saying hello to Dave and Helga. And you guys are saying hello to each other. I like that. Cheryl, Eileen, Lori from Alberta. Good morning, Lori. And Gail is from Brampton saying hello. Keith, I've been waiting. Hi, Keith from Florida. How you doing? Dorothy, PEI. Judy, how are you? And Lori, guys, Sandy from Vancouver, Washington. We love you guys. Another Lori. Deb, how are you? Rosa, Montreal. Dave from Cardiff. And Janice saying, Merry Christmas. Hi, Doug. Douglas is on with us this morning. Yes, Sharon says, see, Sharon, I'm getting to know you guys. Dave, Elaine, how are you? Couple more, we'll get going. Madalena, how are you? From Laval, Quebec. Etta. And Brahim is saying Jesus is the reason for the season. I agree with that. Marlene, Cecilia. Okay, Cheryl. Did I miss you earlier, Cheryl? And Rita, how are you? And yeah, you guys are great. Thank you, Sandy, saying hello to Gloria. Right? Merry Christmas. Hi, John. How are you? Okay, guys, got to get to this April and Elaine from Richmond Hill. We love you dearly. Okay. I want to go over a study that came out from the Mayo Clinic. Okay? The Mayo Clinic. So, great reputation. The Mayo Clinic. And I was listening to an interview yesterday from a Dr. McCary, and he was saying the greatest, I'm going to quote him. The microbiome is the biggest frontier of medicine that we're not talking about. I'm quoting Dr. McCary. He says this. The microbiome is the greatest frontier of medicine that we're not talking about. Well, I am. And you guys are. Okay? But he's right. Like medicine, even though it's the greatest frontier, we're starting to look, guys, in the 1970s, I'll tell you what we knew about bacteria. Okay? Not much. I'm going to tell you what we knew about the microbiome. Not much. Okay? Especially compared to what we know today. But let me tell you this, okay? Because I think it's really important. And you guys know this because if you followed me for any length of time, I've been talking about that invisible war, okay? Now, the Mayo Clinic has said this, and talking about antibiotics in the first 2 years of life. Okay? They did a study, kids that took an antibiotic, the most common thing of antibiotic is ears, okay, in babies. A baby's got an earache. Well, you can imagine, right? And the doctors, even though 99% of the time it's a virus, unless pus is coming out of the ear, they give the kid an antibiotic. Anyway, let me just tell you what the study showed, okay? They followed children that were on antibiotics before the age of 2. And here's what they found. I'm just going to give you their statistics. They made 6 observations. Followed these kids. There was a 20% increase in obesity. Okay? A 20% increase in obesity. What in the world does the microbiome have to do with obesity? Well, the microbiome has to do with everything. Leaky gut, you know our saying, leaky everything. From the brain to the skin to the lungs to even the liver, you name it. It gets affected by the microbiome. And they're showing 20% increase in obesity, 21% increase in learning disabilities, leaky gut, leaky brain. I've said it, but the Mayo Clinic is saying it because they follow kids that have taken antibiotics and they've looked at the results of chronic disorders, learning disabilities, 21%. ADHD and ADD up 32%. Okay? Microbiome, leaky gut, leaky brain. 90% increase in asthma compared to the kids that didn't take antibiotics in their first 2 years. A 90% increase in asthma. Man, you know when I was a kid, okay, in the 1950s, I can't say anybody had asthma. Okay? When I was in school, when I was in grade school, asthma. When I was in high school, do I remember it? Nah. And then all of a sudden, like what happened? 90% increase in asthma. 300% increase. Okay, again, this is the Mayo Clinic. 300% increase in celiac. Right? Now remember, gluten's been around for a long time, guys. Okay? And that's why I've always said gluten schmooten. Okay? I said it in my office. Oh, Dr. Martin, I'm gluten intolerant. Yeah, maybe. But I said, you have an underlying condition. It's gluten schmooten, because it's not the gluten, it's you. Okay? Because gluten's been around forever. Why is there such resistance? And I know Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talked about Roundup being used and that on wheat, and that's made a big difference. Hey, I'm just going to give you what the Mayo Clinic says. Antibiotic, 300% increase in celiac. 300% increase in Crohn's. That's autoimmune, guys. Crohn's is an autoimmune disease. Isn't that crazy? 300%. And guys, it's not like Crohn's hasn't been around. It's just the increase in it. It's like celiac. It's not like celiac. I learned celiac when I was in school in the 1970s. I learned about celiac sprue, we used to call it. And gluten. But today, like they even have branch of foods. Now, I don't see it to be as popular as it used to be, but you could go into I know you still can, go into a grocery store and look for everything gluten-free, right? But is it the gluten or is it the microbiome? And I've talked to you. Okay, and I want to tie this together here for a second. Okay? I want to tie this together. I want you to go back to 1928. Okay? Why is that year so significant? 1928. Okay? Well, antibiotics were discovered by Dr. Fleming. 1928. Greatest discovery of the 20th century. No doubt about it. Antibiotics. But you know what? Even Dr. Fleming, if you can get to read anything that he's ever written, you know what he said? Don't overuse these antibiotics. In 1928, there's a double-edged sword to them. I never forgot that when I read that. And I always talked about that on my radio shows, in my books. I talk about the double-edged sword of an antibiotic. And Mayo Clinic followed these kids. And they talked about the difference between kids that don't take antibiotics in their first 2 years of life versus the ones that did. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty, guys. You know what else happened in 1928? Okay? I've told you the story many a time. It's called the Warburg effect. Okay? Dr. Warburg. He was a German scientist that discovered that cancer was ravenous. And he said it uses another energy pathway. And instead of using oxygen, it was using fermentation as a pathway for energy. And fermentation needed sugar. 1928. That's a big year. Huge discoveries. Antibiotics, cancer. Now I'm going to tell you something that I'm going to link these two for a minute. Okay? In my humble opinion. Okay? There's a big connection. A big connection between the use of antibiotics and the carpet bombing of the microbiome. Because that's what happens. It carpet bombs it. And you change the microbiome. And what happens is that you have an overgrowth. You have the invasion. I talk to you guys about this all the time. You have the invasion of the Third Army. You have a fungal invasion in your body. And in my opinion, that makes you much more susceptible to cancer. And there's pathologists out there who would agree with me. I remember listening to a pathologist, oncologist, go back mid-1990s, talk about every tumor was a fungus-based. Fungus, candida, yeast. Well, how did it get there? How did it get there? Well, the carpet bombing, it's one of the main things, and I've been consistent talking about it. Carpet bombing of the microbiome. I talked about every autoimmune disease, so never mind cancer. And I'm not saying all cancers are fungus, but there's a lot of, not a lot, but there are researchers out there that think all cancers are parasites. I'm more of, look, I'm not against that theory at all. I just think I'm more right when I talk about fungus rather than a parasite. I'm not saying parasites can't be involved. I'm just telling you that fungus, and I know they talk about an anti-parasitic drug that they should have used, ivermectin, that they should have used during COVID. Remember that? And it was poo-pooed. They didn't want it. It was, you know, they outlawed it to a certain extent. They didn't want it used at all. And because of that anti-parasitic, but I'm more of an antifungal because it is an antifungal. And they use an antifungal in terms of cancer. But guys, this is so important that you understand this, because we talk about the microbiome all the time. It's one of the reasons I always tell people, always, and I've been consistent, and I say it, and I say it, and I say it. You need to replace, renew, regenerate your microbiome. It can be done. And when I did my thesis, and I wrote about chronic fatigue, go back a long time ago. When I wrote my thesis, I published a book on chronic fatigue syndrome. I talked about the leaky gut the use and overuse of antibiotics in that disorder, chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. The microbiome was carpet bombed. I like that term, carpet bombed. Autoimmune, chronic fatigue. The body turns on itself. You get adrenal exhaustion, fibromyalgia, inflammation coming out of the wazoo. And how do you get an inflammation? Well, you carpet bomb the microbiome. You get an overgrowth of fungus. And the body reacts to that. Well, you see all this fungus, we got to send out all these cytokines. And the body responds with an inflammatory response. And then it don't get turned off. And now you start a cascade of problems. I believe, and this is, I think I'm very right about this, is that you look at any autoimmune and you better go back to the microbiome. And now we know so much more. Because we didn't even understand. I studied the blood-brain barrier when I was in school in the 1970s. I didn't know how it operated. All I knew is it was a protective barrier in the brain. We knew nothing. But now we know it's the northern border of your body. Protects your brain. You have a southern border in your body. Your gut. And if you got no border guards, you don't have the microbiome, you're going to get, and this is, you guys know this because I've said it to you, Parkinson's, for example. Okay? Parkinson's. And by the way, they did a study on this, found it interesting. You had a much higher risk of getting Parkinson's. Let me read the study to you. Parkinson's greatly increased living near a golf course. Yeah, you got Roundup there. The golf course, you don't get, why don't they have any weeds? They kill them. Okay? And apparently that gets into the water supply. But what does Roundup do? What does Roundup do? It disturbs your microbiome. Much like an antibiotic. You're getting carpet bombed. And leaky gut. Leaky brain. Because now, remember, fungus, yeast. You put a little yeast in bread, and it goes through the whole loaf, right? The Bible teaches us that. A little leaven. You've infected the whole loaf. True or false? Yeah. Right? And that yeast crosses the blood-brain barrier. And so when you see heavy metals in the brain, how did it get there? It needed a carrier. And it needs the blood-brain barrier, the northern border, I call it, to be compromised. You got more bad than good. Okay? You got more bad than good. And you see Parkinson's. Huge increase compared to what it used to be. I believe ALS is the same, right? The Lou Gehrig's disease. which again was extremely rare, and it's not so rare anymore. I'm a why guy. Why did that happen? How come? What's different today than what it used to be? Right? And then you get, like I said, rheumatoid arthritis. Has that been around for a long time? Oh, for sure. 100%. Long time. But it's worse than ever. Sjogren's, ulcerative colitis. They talked about Crohn's disease. Like Crohn's was extremely rare. Like 100 years ago, Crohn's? So this is what I'm talking about, guys. And it's really important. I believe MS, same thing. Autoimmune. What happened? The microbiome was compromised. And one of the biggest culprits, and I've said this, again, for a long time. I even said it with autism, guys. Okay? And that leaky gut. Now, what did it? Was it the antibiotics in the first 2 years of life? And we see, so much, trouble with even, coming down the birth canal for a baby. It's really important for a baby. Now, I understand, right? A C-section, can save mommy's life and the baby's. I get it, but they overdo it. As a matter of fact, I said this about 10 times today already. I hate to repeat myself, but because I've talked about this in the past again. Yeah, well, guys, this is my show. Repetition, rinse and repeat. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. I'm just telling you, when I flag these studies, and I want to bring them to you, there's a lot of stuff that I've been trying to teach for a long time. The importance of that microbiome. And the C-section, and I didn't just say it, even the College of Physicians and Surgeons I know in our province in Ontario, they put out a warning. Now I'm going back, go back 15 years, at least. They put out a warning to doctors, like, quit doing so many C-sections, unless they're absolutely necessary. And they didn't even understand the microbiome. They weren't even talking about that. But I was. And the baby's got to go through and get all that mummy's mucus and mummy's bacteria. And sometimes they stick, even in, I've heard this, when there's a C-section, they take mummy's mucus and put it all over the baby's face. Good idea. Good idea. Because you have to understand thinking of medicine. Okay? And this trumps everything in medicine. Bacteria, bad. That's why you get antibacterial soaps, right? Because why? Bacteria is bad. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. I'm not against washing your hands, but you don't want to carpet bomb your hands, do you? That's why you don't want to use an antibacterial soap. Why would you want to carpet bomb? You don't want to carpet bomb. Look, guys, if you don't want to be in a sterile environment, your body was never made for that. And you know this, that your body your immune system, you want to get that up to snuff. You want your borders sealed. You want your northern border sealed, your blood-brain barrier. You want your southern border sealed, your gut sealed. That's why I'm big renew, regenerate, right? Renew, regenerate that microbiome. Renew, regenerate, always replenish. You got to do it. That bacteria. And don't worry about the overdoing it with probiotics, guys. Okay? When you understand trillion, okay, the difference between a billion and a trillion, that's from here to eternity. Like, you know, okay? We used to say that about a million and a billion, okay? But you go from a billion to a trillion, you got trillions of bacteria. You got so much bacteria, guys, you can't count it. Like, I don't know who counts, okay? I wouldn't want to be a number cruncher when it comes to bacteria, your microbiome, your good guys and your bad guys. And I always talk about that invisible war there that goes on, okay? At your borders. There's a war. It's invisible. You can't see it, but it exists. Right? And there's good guys and there's bad guys. And you win. You win when you got more good guys than bad guys. It's called you win. And boy, the more they go, let me read it again. The microbiome is the biggest frontier of medicine that we are not talking about. The biggest frontier of medicine that we are not talking about. Well, we are talking about it here on this program. We talk about it a lot, don't we? Okay? So, am I saying, okay, let me put a little asterisk here. Am I saying you never take an antibiotic? You know what? Over the years, 10,000, 20,000 times, at least, I told a patient that they ought to be on an antibiotic. And I mean that. Okay? So am I against antibiotics? No, I'm not. Anybody ever accuses me of that? No. Like I said, I made this statement up. I don't think anybody else did. I did it. The greatest discovery of the 20th century. 1928, to be exact. Dr. Fleming. Okay? Saved millions of people's lives. You need an antibiotic? You got cellulitis? Get an antibiotic. You know? You want that to go to sepsis? You need an antibiotic. But he warned us, don't overuse it. He warned us about the double-edged sword. I've been warning about that for as long as I've been in practice, guys. Warning about the overuse of antibiotics. And telling people, patients, listeners, viewers, for how many years? Renew, regenerate, replenish the microbiome. You better do it. And don't feed the yeast, the bears, Candida. Don't feed it. And they love sugar. They love junk. They're teenagers. Okay? They're teenagers. They want junk. I hope your teenager isn't like that. You know what I mean by that. Okay. So guys, Merry Christmas. Okay? Thanks for being part of this family. The Martin Clinic private Facebook group. If you're not in it, please join us there. There's another book club. Okay? We started a book club. Okay? You can join the book club for Rebuild Your Temple. Okay? And we're going to start doing little day-to-day resets in there in the new year. Okay, so you want to join up with that, you're more than welcome to come in and join that group, okay, on Facebook. How do you do it? I don't know exactly. Don't ask me. I just work here. I don't know. I don't know anything, guys. But again, we appreciate you so much. You have a Merry Christmas. Now, we'll be off tomorrow. Okay, back on Friday, Lord willing, okay? So you guys and your families, because I feel it's part of my family, Merry Christmas to you. We love you, okay? We really do. And if you got any questions, I think we're going to do Q&A on Friday. That's my plan, at least. So we'll see how many questions come in. Otherwise, we'll do another program, okay? And again, you have a great time with your family. We love you guys dearly and sincerely. Talk to you soon.